Alright, what's up YouTube? It's me, Stephen Wang, your new favorite internet friend, maybe. And if you can't tell by the title of the video already, I'm going to be talking about the Reese Cooper DIY Chore Coat Jacket. So initially I wanted to make this video a bit earlier, but it's pretty loud at home, and also I'm just procrastinating. But I'm doing it now, so that's all that matters, right? So I wanted to start off by giving a quick background about what the Chore Coat is and why it even exists. So as I'm sure everyone knows, we're in the midst of the global pandemic right now, and that's really heavily affecting a lot of industries, and one of them being fashion. So the way I understand it is, Reese Cooper and his team had a lot of orders canceled by their buyers, but they had already purchased a lot of, ooh, my oven. So the origin of the project is that they had a bunch of orders canceled, and they had all this extra fabric lying around, and I think it was said that if Reese and his team couldn't go and make the clothes themselves, then maybe their buyers, or I guess maybe their customers could. So he went and did something that's, I think, completely different. Went and made a package containing the pattern for the jacket and everything you need to make it, really, other than a sewing machine, scissors, etc. You have to have all that stuff on your own, and of course it comes with the fabric that you specify. So next I want to go over my experience just getting the jacket. It was really easy. He went and made an Instagram post. I just popped over right away. Put an order in on his site. I think it was only like $100 or something, or kind of right in that range. Something that's, I think, super fair for what you're getting out of it. Although you could definitely, I think, buy other fabric and probably source a pattern online, or buy one off Etsy or something and make a jacket for cheaper. But in my mind, it's like having a Reese Cooper jacket for just $100 or something, which is a total steal. Okay, so next I want to talk about my actual experience making the jacket, and I want to preface this by saying that I am a sewing beginner. So I've sewn a couple things before, and I've altered some of my clothes, but I haven't really sewn an entire garment from scratch, and I've never worked with a pattern before, but that's completely okay. So if you're in that boat, you're good to go. I think when I kind of tried to estimate how long it took me, I think it took me about 16 hours or so, which sounds pretty long, but depending on how skilled you are and what you have, then it could take you probably just one day, because it seems like Reese himself does it super quick. But for me, it took me quite a while. So the things you'll definitely need a sewing machine. I would not attempt to do this by hand. I think it'll take you forever. Definitely get the sharpest pair of fabric scissors that you can get, because mine were not very sharp, which is why it took me forever to cut out all the pieces. And I don't want to be like a little baby about it, but my hand is really cramping up during all that as well. Also, it definitely helps to have something to weigh the pattern, the pieces of paper, onto the fabric, just so that when you're cutting them out, you know, your fabric pieces aren't going to get all weird and misaligned. For me, I just took apart a dumbbell I had at home and took those weights and set them on top. That worked perfectly fine. Buy a seam ripper if you don't have one already. Use it to just pop seams out, to pop the stitches that you'll put in. And the point of that is that maybe you'll make a mistake, like I did many times. And you'll have to go and grab this thing and undo basically everything you did, so that you can go ahead and redo the seam. You're definitely gonna want some chalk. As you can see, I did the gray corduroy, and so when I was using the pencil, I couldn't see it at all. And even using the white charcoal, it would kind of rub off really easily. So I definitely recommend just grabbing some chalk and using that to mark your jacket. So I wrote down a list of, I think, tips. They are just some of the mistakes I made. So first things first, when doing this jacket, make sure you have plenty of light. It's extremely important. You definitely want to just have an abundance of light just in your work area in general. I think it'll help generally reduce your fatigue, and I think you'll make a bit less mistakes when trying to mark things out. So tip 2. So if you're pretty new at sewing, something that's not mentioned in the book and that you might not know is that you need to flip a lot of pieces inside out. Okay, so I'll demonstrate. So down the back, this is 2 pieces of fabric, and you can flip it inside out, and what that means is you'll actually sew the inside together so that when you flip it right side out again, you're not going to see a seam on the outside. It's going to be one uniform piece that you can't really see anything on, but this kind of seam ends up on the inside, or all this extra fabric ends up on the inside. Okay, tip 3, go low and slow. Even though your sewing machine can probably power through things really quickly, don't just stomp on the pedal and try to go as quick as you can. It's definitely not a good idea, especially because it can cause the fabric to crumple up. And if your fabric bunches up while you're sewing it, it's going to sew those bunches into the fabric. And that could jam your machine, or it won't, and you'll go all the way through, and then you'll realize, oh my gosh, I've sewn part of my shoulder into my sleeve or something, and now you're gonna have to take a seam ripper and pop that sucker back out, just so you can go and redo the work, because you're going a little too fast. So make sure to go slow. Okay, so tip number 4 is to watch the video multiple times. Keep it handy when you're making the jacket, and keep the handbook handy as well. Sometimes it can get a little confusing doing some of the steps, but if you follow them exactly to a T, then you should come up with a jacket that looks something like that. Number 5 is to measure twice and cut once. Once you remove fabric, you cannot put it back on unless you stitch it back on, but it won't look right. So if you ever have any doubts about where you're cutting, if you can't see the line, maybe the chalk is rubbed off or anything, please go and reference your pattern again, measure it back out. Don't just cut things, don't just cut the fabric. So tip number 6, and I had to do it, I don't know if everyone will have to, is that my fabric was pretty wrinkled when I got it, and it was important for me to just check it in the dryer for I think like 20 minutes or something and tumble it on low so that I could get all of the wrinkles out and I could have a smooth fabric to work with. Tip number 7, make sure the text is the right way that you want it. So the actual fabric itself has some text on it, it's printed on. And I wasn't paying enough attention, so if you look at mine, my text is upside down, which I don't really care. Like, I don't actually expect anyone to like read it, and I think it still looks pretty cool. But if you care about that sort of thing, make sure you look at which way the text is aligned, because after I cut this panel out, there's no way for me to flip it upside down again. Luckily in my case it works out, but something to keep in mind. So my final tip is that you can slim things down and alter things after you're done, especially if you're not super familiar with patterns. So for me, after I finished the jacket, the arm was actually super, super wide. It was much wider than I wanted it to be, and it wasn't super flattering on my body. So what I did is I just flipped the sleeve inside out and then sewed just down where the seam was already and slimmed down the arm, and it looks perfectly fine now. Cut off the excess after I tried it on to make sure that it looks right. Now that I'm done with all the tips, I'll roll a quick video on me actually making the jacket. I wish I could have talked more through it and just kind of stepped through what I was thinking about and what was tricky, but I was literally focusing so hard on making the jacket and not making mistakes that I really just couldn't film myself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Why, shit? I tried to say hi to your pretty blue eye, but I'm not to your view. Yeah, my friends ask me why did I spend all my time conversating about you. See, I guess it's the way that I dream of your face when I think of us two. I tried to chase, I've been looking for you, but you've been dodging my moves. Señorita, don't wanna text me back, but I'm okay with that. Señorita, you might have set me back, but girl, I'm still on track. Señorita, you never liked my style, I wasn't worth your while. Señorita, wanted to see you smile, but you was oh so fine. See, now I sit in my room, soak up all of my doom while I'm building my tune. Yeah, no more drawing cartoons in my head where you rest when I'm writing my tune. Say, ooh, I love yes, the way you undress all my stress when I'm thinking of you. Yeah, now I'm back in no frame like I'm lost in LA and I don't have to. Won't you fill up my void with your love? Feed me your rose while I roast on your dove. Tell me you're coy, but I see past your bluffing. For some reason now you've been feeling my touch. Guess you don't know, you don't know, you don't know. I am the one that you've been looking for. Shine like the sun when I'm heading on tour. You're realizing, reply with bonjour. Guess you don't know, you don't know, you don't know.
내가 원하는 건 특별하지 않아. 좋은 기분에 술 한 잔 못 때문에 열을 받아. 앉아서 눈을 감아 담배 연기는 흩어져. 고등학생 때처럼 빨리 피곤해서 다 넘겨 Puff puff pass it ay, Puff puff pass it Puff puff pass it ay, Puff puff pass it 나와 내 친구들 저마다 몇 가지 고민들 가지고 있었던 애는 회사의 면접에 떨어져 거미줄
Decided to change the camera angle because it's kind of hard getting the jacket into frame. But you can definitely tell once you're closer up that it's handmade. Because I just didn't really know how to finish the corduroy correctly. But it's not too bad of a
괜찮아 우리는 목적지를 향해서 가는 중 내가 원하는 건 특별하지 않아 좋은 기분에 술 한 잔 뭐 때문에 열을 받아 앉아서 눈을 감아 담배 연기는 흩어져.
Yeah, so overall, very happy with it. I think it fits my body, and like I was saying, I slimmed down the sleeves, so this was drastically wider and kind of really had a lot of extra fabric earlier. Slimmed it down, not too slim because I still wanted to stay true to the Chore coat itself and that it should be bigger. But yeah, really happy with it. I went and got the patterns, or not the patterns, I got the patches put on like this. So they kind of overlap each other, and I wanted that to kind of match the size of this pocket. Okay, so the final thing I want to go over is whether it's worth it or not. It's probably a question that a lot of people have, and I'll try to answer that now. So in the beginning, I already went over the fact that I think you're getting a great deal because you're getting a Reese jacket for just around $100 or something. But I think it goes much deeper than just getting a jacket from a brand. So one, you get to make something with your own hands that you get to be proud of, that you get to wear on your own body. And I think that's super cool. Two, it's something that's creative. It's just a ton of fun. And it can be like a gateway, I think, or a stepping stone to doing bigger projects. So I'd always been interested in sewing my own clothes and doing that sort of thing. But I only knew how to do alterations, and I didn't really have any clothes to alter or that I wanted to alter at the moment. So being able to do the Reese Chore coat kit has really kind of like opened those doors in my head. And so I have a couple other projects planned that I want to try to see if I can pull them off. And if not, it's okay because it's all a learning experience. But I think this has really kind of kickstarted that desire in me to create. So another thing is you'll always have a pattern as long as you don't throw it away. So you could conceivably make more and more of these jackets, and you could alter them slowly through time and kind of make that pattern or design more of yours, and you would just have a great place to start at. So I have to wrap this up because my phone is low on storage. But after you finish the jacket, you'll have quite a bit of fabric left over, so you can definitely take that fabric and make other little projects if you want, probably like small pouches or something. Or you could go and take that fabric and kind of add whatever you want onto the jacket and take it past whatever I guess Reese had initially imagined, or what the simple pattern lays out for you. And if you watch the latest runway collection, you actually see a jacket that somebody made and took past it and just added a bunch of buttons, or they added a bunch of pockets onto and embroidery and really customized it, and it made it into the runway show. So something that Reese put out that was customized and created by his, I guess, customer, made it back into the show. So that's kind of a cool little cycle. All right, so I think that wraps it all up. I think I've gone over everything that I wanted to go over, and if not, I'll probably just film something else and slide it in. But I hope you've enjoyed, and if you're interested in making the jacket, I hope this was in some way kind of informational or helpful. If you have any questions, of course you could drop in the comments and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. I'm no sewing expert though. And yeah, stay tuned, I guess. There's more videos I have in planning and that I've already filmed that I need to edit. Some more sewing stuff, some more photography stuff. More of whatever. I don't really know what I want to do on this YouTube channel anyways, really. But yeah, so have a good one.